Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions of cost and management accounting related to the chapter of materials, we discussed about some of the theoretical aspects related to the materials management in an organization, including the materials procurement procedure and various documents which are used in that process. But more particularly, the numerical questions in relation to the valuation of material receipts has also been discussed earlier, and different tools or techniques of inventory control, majorly looking at various stock levels. So different types of stock levels, how to calculate them with formulae. We have done many questions in relation to that, and economic order quantity related questions also you all have done. So that is a very core area of this chapter, once again, just to remind you. And that area is generally the area in which the examination questions can be expected. Of course, there are other areas also where problems are there, like valuation of material receipts is one. And what we are going to discuss, the valuation of material issues, is another one, which is nothing but preparation of stores ledger in general. That also was asked occasionally earlier in the examinations. So that is another area which we should be able to solve the questions about. So let us focus on that in the today's class. So what are the various things related to the valuation of material issues? Of course, prior to that, there is a procedure for material issue that you can generally go through. There is no special importance particularly to that. Why? Because these are all practical things which happen in the real life in the factories. And when they happen in that way, there is no guarantee that they will happen in the same manner that is given here. So these are only indicative procedures how the real factories will use the materials from their godown. So simply speaking, in a general understanding purposes, material issue happens from where? Definitely from the godown. Who does that? Definitely the storekeeper. And who asks for that? That is the production manager. And what is that document that production manager gives the storekeeper requesting the materials? That is what is materials requisition note or goods requisition note. According to that note, the storekeeper will issue the materials to the production department. That is already what we know. That is enough understanding as far as issues is concerned, procedure wise. Nothing special is there. Of course, sometimes there can be materials shifted from one department to another department. They will do the accounting accordingly. For example, if materials are transferred from department A to department B, for department B, it will be considered as an inflow. That will be taken as a input. That will be taken as if it is material coming in. And for department A, it is an outflow of material. So where the material is going out. So there is no separate procedure that we require for it. It is a common sense point. If there are interdepartmental transfers, accounting will be done according to which department has transferred to which department. So that is all, once again, core practical procedural issues which may not be that much relevant as far as the examinations is concerned. But out of general interest, you may go through that materials issue procedure. Material procurement procedure is important. From examination point of view also, theory questions will come from materials procurement procedure. But materials issue procedure is just a generic one. You can generally go through that. So same way the valuation of material issues also. So various things will be having impact on the valuation of material issues. Various aspects can be having an impact on the valuation of material issues. But however, all these things are also not going to be applied by us practically, if at all. These things are all having a lot of policy level decisions by the management. On that basis, the cost accountant or the management accountant will take a decision on how the material issues should be valued. but that selection of course depends upon various factors. So since here there are 5 points here, so that can be a theory question once again. What are the factors to be evaluated while selecting a proper method of valuation of material issues? What are the factors to be considered is the question. What method to be suggested, that is a different story. But what factors to be considered while selecting a method? Depending upon the frequency of purchases, depending upon the price fluctuations of the materials and range of the materials. Same way the frequency of issue of the materials, nature of the cost accounting system. So that is another point here just for understanding the nature of cost accounting system, and the nature of the business itself will have an impact naturally. Also the management policy. These are generic points, nothing technical about them, nothing specific to discuss about them. If a question like this comes, what factors to be considered while selecting a methodology for valuation of material issues? If that is a question, these are the points you will write. It depends upon the following factors: frequency of the purchases, price fluctuations, and the range of purchases. Means the what kind of commodity it is. Is it a very expensive commodity or a cheaper commodity? Same way the frequency of the issue of materials also matters, nature of cost accounting system matters, the nature of business matters, management policy also matters. Taking these factors into consideration, any method can be chosen as below which are given. So what methods are there? There are many methods here. We don't need to be actually applying all of them, because once again a lot of them are not possible to be applied in examination conditions. They can be applied in real life but not possibly from academic point of view. That is why we just sometimes know them, sometimes we can know them and apply them also, so that difference will be there. So first and foremost method is a specific price method, which is actually one of the best methods we can say out of all, if it is possible to be used. If it is possible to be used, whenever materials are purchased for a specific job or work order, that price at which that they have been used, that will be used as material issue price. So we know that material receipt price is already there, which is according to the purchase cost and all the costs which are to be included to bring the materials to the current condition and location, that we know already. But now the point is about at what price or at what value the materials have to be accounted for as issues. So how much they have to be accounted for as issue of materials in the stores ledger is the question now. So for that purpose, we can use any of these methods. So one of them is a specific price method. That means exactly the price for which it is purchased. That is the price at which it will be issued. So there is no problem. But is this possible all the times? All the times it may not be possible. Why? Because here the very main point is you should be able to track. You should be able to track the materials purchased, and you should be able to actually attach them. You should be able to link them to a specific job. You should be able to do that, then only specific price method can be used. So means what kind of possibilities are there where this method can be used? Imagine if there is a particular job order or a work order that has been received, and on that the basis of the work order you have ordered some special materials which are useful for that particular job only, for that particular work order only. If that is the case, then that material is automatically used for that job. So whatever the cost of purchase of that material is there, that will be charged to that job or work order, which means once again the real actual cost of the materials which are physically really used for that job, that price, the purchase price, will be used in specific price method. But again, this is a problem. Why? Because for separate material, each material there has to be a separate record. We should be able to track the materials individually, and we should be able to also match the purchased materials to a specific job. If all these things are possible to be done, then only specific price method can be used. So that is why it is practically little difficult to operate. That is a problem here. It is little difficult to operate because tracking is very not so easy. Physically tracking each material, where is it coming for this job only, is it going to this job only, that requires a lot of special attention. So that is why it is not that easy to have a specific price method. Exceptional cases only, wherever it is possible really to be track the purchased materials to a specific job, then only this method can be used. So that is the, we would say, limitation of this. Normally for every factory the specific price method cannot be used. Just take a simple example for understanding purposes. Say there is a jeweler who is purchasing gold. So what is the raw material for the jeweler? Naturally gold. So gold is purchasing, fine. So he will have a lot of gold that is purchased. He will purchase in bars and biscuits like that, and he will melt it, and he will make different jewelries, isn't it? So when he makes different jewelries, where he purchases the gold on different dates at different prices, he uses that gold on different dates to manufacture different sets of jewelry. So let us say he is manufacturing 4 different sets of jewelry from the same gold. But this is not happening from the purchased gold of the same day. He purchased the gold on different dates at different prices, but he has used that gold to manufacture or to produce 4 different kinds of jewelry on different dates. For example, if we take, the point comes, there are 4 different jewelry items. What are those items? Maybe let us say 1 2 3 4. There are 4 different jewelry items are there. Point comes once again, what is the cost of materials, that is gold, which should be included in the manufacturing of the jewelry item 1? Same way, what is the gold cost that should be included in the cost of materials, cost of jewelry material 2, like that 3 or 4. So question mark remains, and it is very difficult to identify which gold is used for which particular output. The point once again here is, it is not easy to track. It is not easy to track the input with output. Most of the cases that is the same thing, right? If you can you track the sugarcane juice with sugar? Is it possible? It's not possible. Can you track the steel bars which are melted and later made into steel furniture? Can you know that which furniture is made of which steel? Not possible. So practically for many things, it is just impossible physically to track the input with output physically. So if it is possible, then only the specific price method can be used. So for normal example, what we have here, specific price method cannot be used for the calculation of material issues of gold to different let us say in this case jobs. Not possible, because this gold is also purchased on different dates, which is melted, and that whatever the gold is given to these jobs is consisted of different gold which is purchased on different dates at different rates. So we cannot exactly know which jewelry is using which gold. That is not possible to track. But now, on the contrary, just in the same example, let us just take a special case here. Let us say in the jewelry number 4, there is a diamond which has to be also shredded in that. Okay, imagine just like an example. So 1 2 3 are normal gold jewelries and jewelry items, and fourth one is a diamond jewelry item in which a special diamond has to be studded in that. So here, for that diamond, can we use the specific price method? Answer is yes. For that diamond we can use it. Why? Because it is not just going to be used for any other jobs. You can identify very clearly the cost of that diamond to this particular jewelry item, that is jewelry item number 4. So then only specific price method can be used. Otherwise it is difficult to track it. This is an example only. Like this, practically hundreds, thousands of situations could be there. So for understanding the concept, we need examples. Examples are not what we should be interested in. Why we need examples is to understand when this can be used, when this cannot be used. It is difficult to operate, no doubt about it. Why is it difficult? Because it is difficult to track a particular material input to a material output, the material that is used in manufacturing of a particular output. So that tracking is difficult. That is first reason why it is difficult. And second thing is, it is possible to be used only when this tracking is possible. Otherwise, it cannot be actually used. This method is not some generic method. And is there any problem that we can do on this? Practically also, no, not possible. So here, specific price method means whatever the price that has been really paid for, if it is used for a particular job, whatever that price that is paid for that material will be added to the job cost of that particular job. So in this case, gold cannot be having a specific price method. Diamond can be having a specific price method if that diamond is actually used for the purpose of job number 4. If that is the case, then that what will be the cost of the diamond included in the job cost sheet of job number 4 or jewelry number 4? original cost of diamond only will be used. So we don't need to have any assumption there. It is a real cost. That is cost price method. Real cost, that is specific price method. Now the other methods are there which are not real. These are all assumptions. Why they are assumptions? Because once again the reason is we cannot track. Here there are other 4 materials, 4 types of jewelries which are all using gold. So gold is purchased on different dates with different rates, and we cannot track which gold is used for which jewelry item. So that limitation will be there for many types of practical situations. In all those situations you can have assumptions or cost price based methods which are on the basis of some kind of methodology. So we mostly know that. What are these methods? One is a first in first out method. As the name itself indicates, what is that? The pricing of the issue of materials happens in the order in which they are first purchased. So the assumption here, once again I'm repeating, the assumption, not reality. The assumption here is that first in materials are first out. First in first out means when there is any material that is issued, which material is assumed to be issued? The material which was purchased earlier, long back, that is assumed to be issued first. So naturally, what is the material that will remain in the stock? That will be the one which is latest purchased. The one which is recently purchased is assumed to be remaining in the stock. Always you have to keep this in mind. Don't take these things literally. Only for specific price method or specific identification method, we can actually take the real cost of the material which is used for the purpose of production. But in any other method like FIFO, LIFO, or simple average, or weighted average, these are not really that happening in physical sense. How do you really know that first in first out? Imagine you have a petrol station and daily lot of petrol will be poured into the underground tank which is there. So lot of times, let us say daily 3 times the petrol will be just filled into the tank in the petrol station. 3 times it will be filled. All the petrol which is there filled in the all the 3 times will be in the same tank, right? And that will be sold to people. So the question comes, if at all, let us say by afternoon already 2 times filling already happened, 2 fillings already happened, and somebody at 2 o'clock has done some filling from our petrol station. If that is the case, can you identify which petrol he is taking? Can you identify that this customer is being filled with the petrol that was taken in the morning, or that was recently just purchased or recently just filled into the tank? Which one? Which petrol the customer is taking? Can you ever be possible to track that? Can you say that morning petrol first goes out, just latest petrol will go somewhere and hide there? Is it possible? Not possible. So don't even think that physically this FIFO happens, LIFO happens. Physically nothing happens. Physically whatever happens, that is the headache of the storekeeper, that is the headache of whoever is the manager of that particular stock. Don't you worry about that, what happens physically. Physically it is depending upon the type of material, difficult to track. Because it is difficult to track, only we are using. If we can really track what is the material coming in and where is it going, which job it is being used, which production process it is being used, if we can track, we could have used a specific price method only. Because it was difficult, it is not practical, then only we are using any of these assumptions. So once again, always keep in mind, these are assumptions only, not real. First in first out method is an assumption that the first purchased materials, oldest purchased materials are issued first. Not really, only imaginarily, only for the purpose of accounting, only for the purpose of preparing a store's ledger. This will be assumed like that. So that is the one type of method for valuation of material issues. So materials issues will happen on what basis? Oldest basis. Oldest basis, oldest purchase will be the price at which the material issues will happen. So naturally, what materials will remain now in the stock? Latest purchases will remain in the stock. Again, as per assumption, that will be there. So wherever, let us say, the prices are falling, in that case, because the closing stock is going to reflect the latest purchases will be valued low. In such cases, FIFO method will be better suitable. Once again, there is no such practical application of this. which is suitable, which is not suitable. You and I, whatever we can think about, are not going to decide in the organization. So whatever the organization feels, that method they will apply. Falling prices, rising prices, किसको पता है? How does anybody know that prices of the materials are falling? And also these are all hypothetical, just increase of discussion on the subject matter. So not that important. Main important point you have to note here is the assumption. Assumption, there is nothing but name itself. Name itself tells us the story. So first in, first out is the assumption. That's it. Advantages, disadvantages, you can generally go through that. What about last in, first out? Name itself indicates once again. Last in, first out means this assumes that the items of the latest purchase, the last batch, latest purchased are issued first. So whenever there is a material issue, at what price that is going to be issued? At the price which is reflecting the recent purchase, the most recent purchase, whatever it is, that is the price at which the materials are supposed to be issued. So usually during the inflationary periods, LIFO method can be used. Once again, as I said, don't worry about that. That is all practically nonsensical. We are not the ones to tell the organizations which method to use. Good, bad, blah, 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 all those things will be there. Every method will have its own positives and negatives. That is fine. But what we are interested in, not that. We are interested in more in how these methods can be applied. So let's just look at this, for example, FIFO method as with a illustration. FIFO first, then we can go to LIFO. Let us say there are various purchases, materials received and issued we are talking about. Different dates, July 3rd, 13th, 23rd, like this. On many dates, these are received goods, that is based on the GRN, that is goods received note. This will be entered in the stores ledger. This is not a stores ledger. This is only just telling what are the ways of valuing the material issues. So let us say different materials are received on different dates. July 3rd material 600 kgs is received at the rate of 1 rupee. Then 800 kgs is received at the rate of 1.2. Like that. Different materials are received at different dates. Okay. So this all already happened. Then now July 8th, let us say there is a issue of 400 kgs. So July 8th means somewhere between 3rd and 13th. So naturally the price, there is no option. Out of the 600, 400 are issued. So at what price they have to be issued? They have to be issued at 1 rupee only. No option. Again, 12th, before July 13th. The 12th, 200 kgs are issued. Still there is 200 kgs, right? 600, 400 is issued, 200 is balance. That also has to be issued at 1 rupee only. So multiplication. This last column is just multiplication of the quantity and the price. This is nothing but simple arithmetic computation of quantity multiplied with price. So that is not the important one. Main thing is how this price is computed, that has to be looked at. Again, look at this next July 22nd also. There is another issue of 600 kgs, but that can be issued only from where? From the purchases of July 13th, which means at 1.2. So the 600 into 1.2 is the price at which that can be issued. Again, 200 kgs are issued from July 25th. Already July 23rd purchase happened, but are we going to use 0.9? No, because first in, first out. So first in was what? Still this out of this 800, since 600 only is issued, since this only is issued, still there is a 200 remaining here. That 200 is issued now at the same price of 1.2. Now the next purchase comes in, that is July 23rd. So after that, let us say the same day 200 kgs are issued total. So in this 600, 200 kgs are to be valued at 0.9. That comes to 180 rupees. Then August 5th, 400 kgs are purchased. August 8th, 400 kgs are issued. So question comes once again, are these 400 going to be issued from the August 4th purchase or July 23rd purchase only? We have to take July 23rd purchase only completely here up to the amount of goods which are available on that. Why? Because out of 600, 200 are already issued, which means 400 are remaining. So that 400 is this, issued at 0.9. Same way, further 400 kgs are issued on the same August 8th. So they can be valued at 1.1. And further 200 are issued out of the same August 6th purchase. They can be valued at 0.8. So first in, first out is what this method is about. Whatever the oldest purchases are there, that is the price at which the materials are supposed to be issued or valued, we can say. issue happens physically, valuation happens in the stores ledger. That is how FIFO will work, right? So that is on the one hand FIFO. LIFO, if at all we are using, actually we can use it in the same manner for LIFO also. If at all we are using LIFO in this same example, if you take, let us take this way, July 8th 400 kgs. Don't look at these numbers, this will be wrong. So 400 kgs are going to be issued on July 8th. What was the latest purchase? That was latest purchase 1 rupee. So that has to be issued on that only. So 400 into 1, that will be 400. Then July 12th 200 kgs. Till that time there was no other purchase, so the latest purchase was same, still 1 rupee only. So this 400 and 200 matched with 600. So both of them will be issued at 1 rupee only. So far there is no difference between FIFO LIFO. Then July 22nd came. Before that, July 13th purchase is there at 1.2. So naturally, whatever the issue of 600 kgs is there, that should be done out of this only, 1.2 only. So that also is there. So still how much remaining? 200 at 1.2 is remaining. Keep that in mind. 200 into 1.2 is remaining. Then July 23rd, 600 kgs purchased, but 25th, total 400 kgs are issued. So 400 kgs are issued means at what price they will be issued? They will be issued at this price, because 25th means latest purchase before that is July 23rd. So entire 600, out of that 400 will be taken at 0.9. So once again, if you remember, 200 at 1.2, what are all remaining goods here? Issued goods is one thing, remaining goods is how much? So here 200 which are available at from the purchases of July 13th at the rate of 1.2. We have not issued them at 1.2. Then another here, out of 600, 400 are issued only. So another 200 at 0.9. 0.9. So these are still there in the stock. Now let us take another next purchase. So next purchase happens now. Okay, fine. That is 400 kgs at 1.1. Now, so this 400 is already issued, right? So these are already done. This 400 issued from this 200 issued from this, same 600, right? Then this 600 issued from this 800. Then this 400 issued from the latest purchase, that is this 600. Out of this 200 still remains. Out of this original 800 also, since 600 are issued, 200 still remains. That is still there. Another purchase happened on August 5th and another purchase happened on August 6th. So now August 8th there is an issue. August 8th, how much is the issue? August 8th issue is this much total. 400 plus 400 plus 200 means 1000 kgs are issued on August 1st. All of them will be valued at 0.8. So out of 1200, if 1000 are issued, how many will be still there in the August at the end of the month or at the end of this period, whatever we are preparing stores ledger? Another 200 kgs will be there at the price of 0.8. So that is one more material which is still in the stock. But if you see this August 5th one, it was never issued at all. Once again, are you thinking it is really not issued? It will become stale if it is not issued really. We are all talking imagination of LIFO only. So the 400 at 1.1 is another one. So these are all the things which are all there in the stock according to LIFO. So the closing stock valuation, if at all you do the closing stock valuation under LIFO, it will be what? 200 into 1.2, 200 into 0.9 and 200 into another 0.8 and 400 into 1.1. So how much is the total value? So 200, 200, 200, 600. Total value will be 4,000. Isn't it? So that is according to the LIFO, the closing stock valuation will be that much. That is 4,000. 1000. So 200 into 1.2, 200 into 0.9, 4000 or 2000. Let's check that. 0.8 into 200 and 1.1 into 400. 1020 only. Sorry, not 4000. 1020 total. So that is the total value of closing stock according to LIFO. But what if we used FIFO? The closing stock will be different. So what is the closing stock of that? If you check, so according to this only, once again you have to check that. So 600 is entirely gone or not according to FIFO? Yes, because both of them are out of 1. So this is over. These two are from 1 and then these two are from 2, which means again 800 is also gone according to FIFO. So and then 3, these two are from 3, so that means this 600 is also gone according to FIFO. Then 4 is also gone, this 400 is from that. So then remaining out of this 1200, how many cages are issued? Only 200 cages are issued, which means 1000 cages are still remaining under FIFO. Of course, the number of units will be same, but the value is how much now? That is 0.8. So according to FIFO, what is going to be the value of the closing stock? That is 800. And according to LIFO, what is the value of the closing stock? That is 1020. So the value of stock will be different according to FIFO, LIFO. Of course, actually the cost of the materials consumed also will be different according to FIFO and LIFO. So whatever the purchase price and whatever the closing stock value, out of that, how much is the difference? This one is what is the value of materials consumed, cost of materials consumed, you can call it. That is where the valuation of material issues, that is how it happens. For the purpose of entering them into the stores ledger by using FIFO or LIFO, this can be done. That is FIFO and LIFO, two different methods. Now there are other methods also which can be used. We can go through the methods first, then we can come back to the problems whatever they are. So whatever the questions are there, we can use that later. Let us complete the methods first theoretically. So what are the methods that can be used? So other thing is like base stock method. Base stock method is nothing special actually. It is not a special method. Certain amount of stock will be assumed to be always there at a fixed price as a emergency stock or buffer stock, like that. But again, don't assume physically, at least physically whether it is there or not, that is storekeeper will take care of it. But as far as accounting is concerned, we will assume that a certain portion of the stock is always there. So that will be always in the stock. So that means what? In other words, it will not be issued at all. It will be at a fixed price, always at a fixed price, it will be in the stock. So whether it is FIFO or LIFO, this will not change. So point what happens is this base stock method is not a separate method. It has to be used in line with according to FIFO, LIFO plus base stock you can use, or weighted average plus base stock you can use. So this is not an independent method. It's just another thing that will be added to the normal calculations, that okay, in addition to the issues and purchases whatever we are recording in the stock, in the stores ledger, always there is something which is at fixed price, which is called as base stock. These are called cost price methods, we can say generally. Then we have simple average price method. So as the name itself indicates, it is easy to calculate. The simple average means the average of only the prices. So just take an example here. Let us say these are all the prices at which the materials are purchased. So when there is a material issue, it has to be valued at what price? Average of all these things. How many purchases are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots are there. So add all the prices, 10 plus 12 plus 12 plus 15 plus 11 divided by number of purchases, that is 5 lots. So average, simple average price is 12. So whenever there is an issue price which has to be recorded in the stores ledger, it will be recorded at 12 rupees. So once again, there is no real track of which material is being issued. We are just simply taking an average of all the purchase prices of the materials. But the problem here is we don't consider the number of units of these purchases. We are only considering the prices. Simple average always will have its own limitations. The nature of simple average itself is always a uh, misleading thing. So it has its own limitations. But of course, if the question in the examination asks it, we have to just do it. We cannot say simple average is not good. I will suggest weighted average. So like this, you cannot write. Whatever is asked, you have to do it. But you should understand, you should know, that is knowledge, that simple average is less scientific compared to weighted average. Weighted average is much better. In the same case, how the weighted average will be calculated. Weighted average is a normal concept. We are applying it here. Weighted average is nothing but amount multiplied with the quantity, whole divided by quantity. That is the point we are talking. Amount is 10 rupees, price multiplied with quantity, like this, 10 into 200, 12 into 150, like this. Each of them is multiplied. 12 into 210, again 15 into 50, 11 into 140, divided by total of the quantity. Then you get the price, which is weighted average price. Total of quantity is what? That is 200, 150, 210, 50 and 140. Add all of them. So what is the weighted average price here? Better to be taken as 11.48 is the weighted average price, which can be used as a material issue price. So material issue prices can be taken like this. Sometimes there can be replacement price method that can be used, very, very rarely, but yes, it is quite possible. Replacement price means what? These two words are important, not only here, even in accounting also. Replacement and realizable, these two are little different. Replaceable price means what? If at replacement price means if at all you buy the material now in the market, actually you purchased already, it is already in the stock, but we are not bothered about that. What we are talking about, we are assuming, what if we go to the market and purchase the material now, to replace the existing material, how much price we might have paid, we should have paid, that will be considered as if that is the issue price. So that is a revaluation of the materials that happens. Very rarely this happens, but if it is given that replacement price is the price at which the materials are to be valued but not cost price, we have to take them at market price. If that is the case, then market price has two things. Simply speaking, market price is always having two things. One is sell price, one is buy price. If you go to a market and buy the same thing, it will be different. If you go to the market and sell the same thing, it will be definitely different. So what is replacement price is nothing but buy price. If you go to the market and buy something, what it will cost you, that is replacement price. What is realizable value, or reverse? Realizable price means if you go to the market and sell this now, if all or if only, there is nothing which is going to happen. We are never going to buy this, we are never going to sell this. Nothing is going to happen like that. But what if? Then what if is applied? Then if at all we know the prices of replacement price and realizable price method, realizable prices, we use these methods to revalue the materials according to these things. Once again, this is not a very practical method. Of course, we will use these things particularly in the accounting standard 2, that is inventories. We will come to that later. So more than in costing, these two things will be useful in accounting standard 2, replacement and realizable. We should know the concept only. How to use that, which problem in costing we are going to use that, no problem, we are going to use that. So not going to be useful there, only conceptual understanding is enough now. What is that? Replacement price means if at all you go to the market and buy a material, buy anything, that is called replacement cost or replacement price. Realizable value or realizable price means if you go to the market and sell something, how much you can fetch, that is called realizable price. Simple. These are all different methods of material issues. Like this, some other methods like standard price method can be also used sometimes. Standard price means without any change in the issue price, always material prices are issued at a standard price. Means no fluctuation in issue price at all. You might have purchased it at different prices. Issue will always happen at fixed standard price. That is also possible. How that standard price can be fixed? Sometimes depending upon current prices, anticipated market trends, and depending upon the discounts available, the standard price can be used. Sometimes inflated price can be used, means not just the actual cost, maybe sometimes in order to provide for the losses, we might have to inflate the issue prices. That is all there. So sometimes reuse price can be used. Like this, various methods are there. These are all not much useful for problem solving. Conceptually or theoretical questions can be asked of short note questions. What is the inflated price method? In that case, just issue price will be inflated in order to cover the losses normally incurred due to the material, you can say evaporation or any other reasons, because of which the materials lose their weight. Because of that, price will be inflated. That is called inflated price method. Sometimes reuse price method means sometimes materials will be used normally in the production process and they get spoiled, and they are going to be sent, actually rejected. After that, again they are going to be put to for another use. In that case, the original price whatever was purchased is different and reuse price will be different. So originally, let us say there was a quality material which was supposed to be used for a quality output. No, that could not be used, or maybe while processing that got spoiled. Then the same material is used for some other production process, some other purpose, maybe not for the same purpose. In that case, are we going to use the original purchase price? No, definitely not. We will use a lesser price, that is called reuse price. So these are all special cases, not normally going to happen. So this valuation of material issues, basically speaking, okay, irrespective of, we have all the methods. Methods wise, if it is asked, you should know and you should be able to write theory questions related to any of these methods. So we have various methods which are all given here. One is specific price method or specific identification method. Specific price method can be used only generally for job related situations. So the specific price method is one that is there. FIFO is the one that is there anyway. Then in addition to the FIFO, there is LIFO, that is last in first out. That is another important and commonly used method. First in first out, last in first out. Then we have simple average and weighted average methods. These two are also average methods, and base stock is basically not a separate method, not an independent method, but along with FIFO and LIFO, this also can be added as a separate filter. So in addition to FIFO, LIFO, base stock, if at all it is given that it has to be maintained, it will be maintained in all the levels. Every time there will be a minimum base stock which is valued at a standard price, which is valued at a fixed price. The price is not going to fluctuate for that base stock. Remaining everything will be happening, issue, purchase, everything will be happening related to the remaining stock, not related to the base stock. Like that simple average method, weighted average method, these are all there. So base stock method also can be as an additional point, it can be given. So replacement realizable method, standard price method. Standard price also problems, it is possible if the standard price is given. Replacement and realizable mostly not possible for stores ledger type, but accounting standard 2 they are important. Inflated price method, reuse price method are also only for theoretical purposes, they might be important. Other than that, for problem solving, basically major methods that we should know, normally speaking. Specific price, not possible for us to use, because if it is there, there is nothing for us to calculate. Identifying directly input with the process of output automatically becomes easier in the specific price method. So there is nothing for us to do if that method is used. That is why that cannot be expected. But what all can be there here? Normally there can be the methods what we have just now discussed. Most popular methods are these four. One is FIFO, then second one is LIFO, then simple average, then weighted average. These four are common. Along with them, if there is a base stock, possible. So when you apply base stock method, base stock will be there. Along with them, you can apply any of these methods according to the question that is given. If standard price method is given, then there is no need. Always issues are priced at same rate. That also generally cannot be expected, because if it is there, there is nothing for us to calculate. So in the examination, any of these methods can be asked. FIFO, LIFO, simple average, weighted average. Base stock can be as an added condition only. This is not a separate method. That is the valuation of material issues. Then sometimes it may so happen that the returns happen when, if at all we have some materials returned to the vendor. There is no much separate thing that we need to worry about it. If at all we are having about materials returned to the vendor, we have to return them at the store's ledger price, not at the invoice price, because the invoice price could be something which is only related to purchase. And now we are returning the materials. We already recorded the material receipts, not only taking the purchase price, we have taken purchase price, inclusions, all of them we have added, everything. So that is the stores ledger price at which it was recorded as a material receipt. When it is returned now, in our accounting, what we are going to do? Actually speaking, there is no big difference. Material returned to vendor is also as good as to be valued as material issue. So if you have a material issue valued, use the same thing for material returned also. There is no difference. Practically, physically, there is a difference. Physically, material, if it is an issue, it is going from store to production, if it is an issue. But physically, if it is a return, it is going from stores to vendor or seller, supplier. So there is difference physically, but practically both are same, right? When you have materials already in the store that was already received and valued, when you are issuing, it is going out to production. When you are returning, it is going out to vendor, but going out is common. So there is no separate treatment required. As far as problems are concerned, we just need to consider material returns as if they are material issues only. There is nothing special about it. Okay. Same way, if some materials are issued to the store, means that is production, and they came back to the store, then there is no big deal. Whatever the price you issued to them, the same price you will enter for return. So this is an issue, right? It is an issue. It will be considered as material receipt. At what price we have to enter this? We don't need to invent that. Whatever the price it was issued earlier, same price, it will have to be recorded as if it is received back from the production. So all these things are commonsensical points. No need of any special technical attention on them, right? And another point which will be again theoretically important is what are the types of losses of material? This is a very commonly asked theory question. What is the difference between waste, scrap, spoilage, defectives, and obsolescence? These are theory questions. So go through that generally. There is nothing again technical about it. A lot of things are self-explanatory here. What is a waste? What is a scrap? And treatment. See, treatment for abnormal, everything is common. You always say costing P&L account, costing P&L account. For normal, generally the logic is always the same, more or less. It will be absorbed by good units. So more or less the treatment also will be similar. But sometimes they will be reworked. If they are reworked, then additional cost is incurred. Whatever the cost already has been taken, that will be included in the cost of new production. So other than that, more or less, this treatment is same. But it is not about the treatment themselves. We have to also understand the meaning of each of them is not same. So waste is different. Generally, the scrap is different little bit. Spoilage is different. Defectives are different. Like that. Various items are there. So what is the difference between waste and scrap? This is all theoretical thing. What is the difference between scrap and defective? Obsolescence. What is that? Go through all these things. Simply, those are all theoretical questions which can be very much asked in the examination. So with this, we can conclude the material issues related points. Material issues related conceptual theoretical discussion we have done. Broadly, we have 4 methods of material issues as we have seen. That is first in, first out. That is one, and the last in, first out, LIFO, simple average, and weighted average. That is enough. So these are the core points to be noted, and we can solve the questions related to the valuation of material issues. Valuation of material receipts is one part. Valuation of material issues happens according to any of these methods: FIFO, LIFO, simple average, weighted average. So that has to be done. In other words, simply speaking, the preparation of stores ledger. Preparation of stores ledger, how to do that? How should we prepare the stores ledger? Those problems, related to those problems, we will continue this discussion in the next class. And then, as usual, a task will be given to you for you to calculate and for you to prepare the stores ledger. That will almost conclude the numerical portion of this chapter of materials. Any theoretical aspects like this waste, scrap and all, you can generally go through them. And some other theoretical aspects are also there, which we have not particularly discussed. We will come back to them later, like particularly the material inventory control techniques. In addition to the level based techniques, we have only observed the level based techniques like minimum level, maximum level, but there are other techniques also. There can be ratio analysis. For that, just we have a formula how to calculate inventory turnover ratio. That is one thing. We will discuss that. Same way as we discussed earlier, the word used selective inventory control system. discriminatory inventory control system, how that works, various points like ABC analysis, VED analysis, those things can be discussed in the next classes after we complete the stores ledger related questions. So on a broader basis, we can observe that very easily. Three major categories of questions can be expected here from the past experience. One, valuation of material receipts. Two, levels along with EOQ. Three, stores ledger, or you want to call it valuation of material issues. Yes, that also is part of it. So preparation of stores ledger, the levels and EOQ, valuation of material receipts are the general questions that will be expected from this chapter. Once again, is there any rule that questions will come from this only? Are there any models like that? That should never be the case. We should keep in mind this is how it works, but we should not be rigid in mind that or something else has come, sir, this is out of syllabus, it has come. Not like that. There is nothing called out of syllabus for chartered accountancy, and out of syllabus will not come. Concepts will be same, but the way the question is asked could be altogether different from any one examination to other examination. So that is the reason why we should be thorough with the concepts, not just with the problems. Problems are application of the concepts, but solving more problems will give us practice. Solving more problems will give us actually the thought process, how to think in case I encounter a new problem. That is very important. Known problems, if I am only able to solve, unknown problems, if I am not able to solve, that is not going to help. So it is all about when we have the tasks to be actually completed, you have to keep this in mind. Why these tasks are given? The purpose is you should be able to solve any question that comes in the examination. In spite of all this, there is no guarantee that the same questions which are already given to you will come in the examination. Something else might come in the examination. But how do you develop that skill of playing some other ball which you never practiced? Only when you practiced already 100 balls, then you can play the 101st ball. Though you did not practice it, with the experience of playing the 100 balls, you will get the skill of playing the 101st ball. That is the nature, simple technique of sports. Same thing if you apply to the chartered accountancy. The practice that we do will give us that confidence, that experience one way, or that skill, so that we will be able to, or we will be confident enough to solve any question that comes in the examination. So once again, questions in the examinations need not be in the same models, but having said that, generally speaking, on a broader basis, can we tell it's only all those things are nonsensical. For a course like chartered accountancy, we should not tell that these are the only questions that will come in the exam. Any question can come from in the exam, but in general, how to classify them? On a broader basis, we can classify them into these categories. Always there is one more category in every chapter, by the way. Whatever categories we do in the questions, there is one more category, that is miscellaneous category. So any question which does not fall in this three category anyway falls into the miscellaneous category. There are questions like that also. I will send them later to you. So such questions were also asked in exam, and you will be not able to actually put them under any category. They are not related to stock levels. You cannot just blindly, happily write the formula, substitute, get the answer and get marks. Those questions you cannot do that. They are not related to valuation of material receipts. They look like that, but not really like that, not really them. They are not related to stores ledger, but still there are questions which are given in the past exam. So those will all fall under miscellaneous category, where common sense, conceptual understanding, and numerical accuracy will only help us in solving such questions. So all these type of questions, we should have our weapons ready to be able to solve them. So that is the objective of learning. That is the objective of learning any chapter, any subject. Particularly now, what we're talking about is the cost and management accounting. That is the approach of learning. So with that, we'll conclude this session in relation to the theoretical aspects, conceptual aspects of stores ledger preparation, valuation of material issues. And in the next session, we will start solving the problems related to the preparation of stores ledger. Okay, till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.